You know, in the high-stakes world of big tech, some companies play checkers while others play chess. But in early 2026, Apple showed everyone that they're playing a completely different game, one that's designed to put the entire industry in checkmate. So let's break down this master plan move by move.
Okay, so picture this. It's early 2026, and the tech world is in total chaos. I mean, the market's tanking, companies are scrambling, there's just this feeling of panic everywhere. But while everyone else is just trying to stay afloat, Apple is stronger than they've ever been, and they're about to make a move that absolutely nobody saw coming.
To really get the scale of what's happening, you have to look at the numbers. In the first quarter of 2026, right in the middle of all that chaos, Apple posted a mind-blowing revenue of $143.8 billion. That's not just weathering a storm. That's like using a hurricane as a tailwind. They literally have more cash on hand than most countries.
And that brings us to the big central mystery of this whole thing. With all that money and a brand built on being premium and expensive, why in the world would Apple suddenly pivot and go cheap? It seems like it makes zero sense. But it's actually the most brilliant move on the board. You have to understand, this isn't a defensive play, this isn't all-out attack. And Apple's weapons of choice are two brand new devices, both priced at an unbelievable $599, designed to just shatter the competition's front line. These two are the key. They're engineered to storm a massive part of the market that Apple has, historically, just ignored. For the first time ever, the price to get into that premium Apple world isn't $1,000 or more. It's under $600. And what you get for that price? Well, that's what makes this so devastating.
Just look at this comparison. It's brutal. For basically the same price as a standard Windows laptop, you know the ones, the creaky plastic things with loud fans and a battery that dies in like 3 hours, Apple is giving you a solid aluminum body, a gorgeous liquid retina display, it's totally silent, and it has an insane 16 hours of battery life. This doesn't just compete, it completely changes the game for entry-level computers.
So, you're probably asking, how is that even possible without losing a ton of money? Well, it's pure financial genius. See, instead of making a new, cheap processor, they're just reusing the A18 Pro chip from the 2024 iPhone. The R&D for that chip was paid for years ago, so for them, it's basically free. They make a few smart cuts, like no light-up keyboard or fingerprint sensor on the cheapest model, and boom, they've created a product that's impossibly good for a price that just kills the market. And let's be crystal clear about the intention here. This isn't some friendly competition. This is an aggressive, calculated gut punch aimed squarely at Dell, HP, Lenovo, the entire Windows world, and it leaves them with absolutely no good way to fight back. But this move was only possible because of what Apple did behind the scenes.
To even launch this attack, Apple had to pull off another masterstroke. They saw a global crisis coming and didn't just prepare for it, they turned it into their single biggest weapon.
Okay, so here's what was going on in the world. The huge explosion in AI created this crazy demand for a special kind of memory chip. So all the manufacturers shifted their factories to make that, which suddenly created a massive shortage of the normal memory that goes into laptops and phones. And just like that, prices for those parts went through the roof for almost every tech company on Earth.
Almost everyone, because Apple, with this gigantic pile of cash, saw this coming a mile away. They quietly went and bought up massive supplies of memory a year or two in advance, locking in super low prices. So while all their competitors are now paying insane amounts for parts, Apple is sitting on a mountain of cheap components. They basically choked off the supply chain.
And they didn't stop there. They also finally broke free from their rival Qualcomm by building their very own 5G modem, the C1X. And it's not just cheaper for them, it's better. It uses 30% less power, which means way longer battery life. It's better at holding a signal when you're in a weak spot, and it allows for a game-changing privacy feature that stops carriers from knowing your exact location. It's just one more critical piece of the puzzle that Apple now owns outright.
But of all the moves Apple made, this next one is the one that really stunned everybody. To fix their one big weakness, AI, Apple made a deal with their #1 rival, and it completely reshaped Silicon Valley. I mean, seriously, Apple and Google? It sounds crazy, right? Apple, the company that sells privacy as its main feature, is suddenly teaming up with Google, the king of data collection. On the surface, it just doesn't make any sense. But when you dig a little deeper, you realize it's a cold, calculated, and ruthlessly smart decision. So here's what went down. Apple signed this massive, multi-billion-dollar deal to basically license Google's incredibly powerful Gemini AI and make it the new brain for Siri.
It was a huge admission from Apple. They basically looked around and realized they were losing the AI race, and losing badly. So instead of wasting years trying to catch up, they just wrote a check and bought the best technology on the market from their biggest competitor.
So why does this matter so much? Because it finally turned Siri into a true agentic AI. Now, what does that mean? It's the difference between asking, "Hey Siri, what are the best flights to Tokyo?" and just saying, "Hey Siri, book me the best flight to Tokyo for next Tuesday." The AI doesn't just search for you, it does things for you. That's the future, and with one deal, Apple just jumped to the front of the line.
So, you've got a super cheap laptop, a cornered supply chain, and a secret deal with Google. When you put all of these pieces together, the real endgame, Apple's true master plan, becomes incredibly clear. Those amazing, affordable new MacBooks and iPhones, they aren't really the product. They're just the bait. They're these beautifully designed, super powerful, and impossibly cheap lures designed to do one thing and one thing only: get you in the door.
Because the hardware was never the point. The real profit engine, the actual heart of this whole strategy, is Apple's massive services division. The hardware isn't the product. It's just what they spend to get a new customer for the real moneymaker.
And this chart says it all. You see, hardware sales go up and down, but Apple's services, we're talking the App Store, iCloud, Apple Music, TV Plus, that is a money printing machine. I mean, look at those margins, 70%. That is just an unbelievably profitable business, and it keeps growing no matter what.
And this is the playbook. It's so simple and so effective. Step 1, lure you in with that irresistible $599 price tag. Step 2, the second you turn it on, they hit you with free trials for music, TV Plus, arcade, all of it. And before you even know it, you're hooked. Your photos are on iCloud, your playlists are on Apple Music, and now you're happily paying them a small fee every single month, probably forever.
So, at the end of the day, Apple isn't just selling you a cheap laptop. They're selling you an entry ticket. They've built the most beautiful, seamless digital world that exists, and they just dropped the price of admission to the lowest it's ever been. The only question left is, what's the real cost of living inside their perfect, impenetrable walls?